really didn't think that you were an addict. That was Skid Row. That's what an addict would be. So I guess at that age I knew something was wrong because I wasn't happy. I was miserable, lonely, but had a ton of people around me.
Welcome to another edition of Recovery Happens. My name is Patrick Patterson with BW Rock. Today we're going to be sitting down with Brenda as she offers hope to encourage recovery.
My name is Brenda and I'm a person in long-term recovery. Can I tell you a little bit about what life was like prior to drugs and alcohol? I thought it was normal, which it really wasn't, because my family was in recovery, was not in recovery and needed to be in recovery. I had an alcoholic father. My mother was a great enabler, and I had 3 older brothers and sisters that were all on drugs. When and how did I realize I had a problem with drugs? I was probably 11 years old in school, getting them, of course, from my family and selling them and doing things. My grades started dropping by the time I hit high school, running away a lot, fighting with my mother, and I left at the age of 16 and moved to Texas where, cocaine was the big thing. So I used a lot of that, but I was still functioning. I was still going to school, still knew I had a problem, but didn't realize. And back then there was no programs, and you really didn't think that you were an addict. That was Skid Row. That's what an addict would be. So I guess at that age I knew something was wrong because I wasn't happy. I was miserable, lonely, but had a ton of people around me. I think by the time I was 25 years old and I was pregnant with my first son, I was introduced to crack cocaine, and that is when I really realized there's a problem, and I wanted to go to treatment. And I remember at the time I was married, and my husband said, "No, just stay home, and I'll take the phone away. I'll move all these things so that you don't go out and use." And I went to my first treatment center, and at that time, that was probably in 1991, and they really didn't have a lot of crack addicts in there, especially women, because they could stay out there and utilize those resources on the street at that time. And, I went to treatment, stayed clean for about 5 months, went out for 7 years, and went to my second treatment center. And that's when I was done. Emotionally, physically, mentally, I was done. Spiritually, there was nothing left. So I made that decision at that time that I was going to get clean. And whatever it took. I didn't want to be like my family. I didn't want to lose my kids. In that I can't remember if it was 5 years or 7 years, but when I went out in that time, I ended up with, protective services on me, a third child, and I took my son to treatment with me, and I ended up at Harbor Light because that's the only program that had a program for children as well to stay with you. So at that time, that's been 21 years, April 5th. And that was an amazing time in my life. And I went to programs with all 3 of my children on a daily basis, sometimes more than that, even at midnight, because, I used anyway. So why not take them to a meeting with me so that I could keep my sanity and be there for my children and be there for life as it happens. When I first got clean, I didn't even think or dream of all the things that I have done so far. Since I got clean, I have raised 3 children by myself. I finished a degree in business, entrepreneurship. I'm also a paralegal. I am a realtor, a licensed realtor with RE/MAX. I am the owner of 10 recovery homes in Macomb County. I am recently, in the past 2.5 years, we started a nonprofit, and I am the founder and CEO as well as president of the Live Right Structure Recovery Corp nonprofit. I have helped many people, and that's what I give back, is helping the community. Sometimes I don't know how to act when people say, "You saved my life." It's just next. What can I do next to help? Because recovery happens. And there's multiple pathways. I know I had to change my outlook on that because I believe a 12-step program helps. But there's yoga, there's refuge recovery, there's maintenance, there's, just having someone there for you that believes in you and can support you saves lives. And that relates to you, so they don't think you're crazy when you say, oh my God, I want to use. But that's what we know. And, sky's the limit. And I try to explain that to people. Structure works in recovery because we're addicts. Our mind goes crazy. We spin out. We're always thinking, what can I do? What can I do? What did I forget to do? What part of my life did I destroy? How can I catch up with all of those things I destroyed and make it better and get back into my family and get back in the good graces? There's so many things that people don't realize is just staying clean for today and doing the next right thing is going to save lives and build relationships again with their families.
Thank you for watching this edition of Recovery Happens. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please give us a call at 888-68-BWROC. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Live Right Structured Recovery.